broke. I told Gunner that I'd kill him. A few days later, somebody drilled him. Into an alleyway, somebody rilled him. And that left the homies feeling like I killed him.
U.S. Attorney in Philadelphia has announced indictments against 16 people in connection with a sophisticated crime operation that allegedly included robbery and torture.
Jim, federal prosecutors called them a violent gang of serial robbers who used torturous tactics in home invasions and robberies. They're accused of stealing jewelry, cars, cash, electronics, and drugs from their victims in a years-long crime spree that stretched from Philadelphia to the suburbs. Federal prosecutors say one of these men was Khalil Smith, the other one of the many accomplices. This 17-count indictment alleges in many other cases the 16 men in the group used violent tactics in home invasions, targeting victims they thought had drugs or money from drugs. Federal prosecutors say this house on Lee's Way in Hatfield was targeted by the ring in November 2013. They allegedly placed GPS devices on the victims' cars. The ATF needs the public's help finding Hassan Cheney and Brandon Seegers so they can join their friends now in federal custody.
Tommy High's got 30 years and I can't lie, I cried about that shit. I told him take that deal, but he went to trial about that shit.
Gunned down on the road. A man is shot overnight while driving in North Philadelphia.
And while his wife was not in the car with him, she arrived on the scene moments later. Eyewitness News reporter Crystal Cranmore is live outside of Temple University Hospital, where the victim underwent surgery overnight. Crystal, good morning.
Good morning, Janelle. Well, we're told the victim and his wife were headed somewhere in two separate cars when the shooting happened. Police telling us that the victim was driving when someone shot him in the face. Again, all of this happening at a very busy intersection right off the Boulevard extension. Now, there's a lot of unanswered questions like why this person was shot. Was he the intended target? And also, police are trying to determine if the shooter or shooters were on foot or if they were in another vehicle. Now, all this happened at Broad and St. Luke's Street around 11 o'clock last night. You can see the bullet shattered the window of the Chevy Malibu the victim was driving. Police believe the 28-year-old man was headed east on the 1400 block of St. Luke Street when someone shot him in the face. The bullet may have been lodged in his throat, according to police. Now, we're told the victim was able to get out of the car and fell to the street after he was injured. Investigators say several people showed up at the scene after the shooting and saw the victim fall to the ground. So again, to be clear, no witnesses at this time of the shooting, but they did see the victim fall into the street. Now, police say one of those witnesses is the wife of the victim. Police say they were headed somewhere in two separate cars.
At one point they got separated, and that's when at Broad and St. Luke's, when the vehicles were separated, that's when the male got shot. So she's also going to be questioned at Temple Hospital by Northwest detectives, but we're not certain if she saw anything at this point.
On the scene moments later,
we're told the victim and his wife were headed somewhere in two separate cars when the shooting happened. Police telling us that the victim was driving when someone shot him in the face.
My big brother died, that shit got rough for me. Even a fistful of pills wasn't enough for me. I took my will, face shot, nigga, I still survive. A bullet in my face, I see my dreams leaving. But I thank Allah that I'm still breathing. Cause niggas had to drop me, niggas drilled me with a face and back shot, but it's gonna take more to kill me.
In August of 2022, North Philadelphia rapper Crakk was convicted in a murder-for-hire plot in which the FBI and U.S. Marshals alleged that Crakk hired two men to take the life of 27-year-old Christian Eldridge. Christian Eldridge was murdered on Monday, February 17, 2020. At 3:18 p.m., Philadelphia police officers responded to the 3700 block of North Bouvier Street and found Christian outside of a blue Chrysler Town and Country. He was suffering from gunshot wounds to his chest and arm. Police rushed Christian to Temple University Hospital, where he died that afternoon. Christian Eldridge, or OBH Boy Boy, was 27 years old. Investigators alleged that James Haynes, aka Crakk, hired Aaron Page and Edwin Martinez to carry out a drive-by shooting that targeted Eldridge, who was fatally shot on the afternoon of February 17, 2020, as I just mentioned, the FBI used video surveillance footage that captured Page and Martinez renting the getaway vehicle. A warrant was served on Page's home, where he barricaded himself and had a brief standoff with police before taking his own life. The cops used Page's phone to connect Page and Martinez to Crakk, and messages posted on Instagram DMs, FaceTime logs, and CashApp receipts. Investigators were able to ascertain that Crakk paid the men $20,000 for the hit. Upon conducting the search of Crack's residence, investigators discovered nearly $34,000 in cash and multiple illegal firearms. Also, they found cell phones and laptops, which are all used as evidence against Crakk. In the end, he was offered 7 years, but didn't take the deal. At his trial, the jury returned a guilty verdict in less than a day.
They gotta dig him up, put that boy in the ground, he ain't getting up. They gotta check on my head, but that shit is not big enough. Niggas not lit enough, I ain't getting.
Crakk is from Erie Ave. His life was a struggle from the start. Crack's mom was on drugs and his father wasn't around. He was a true product of his environment. Crakk used to sell a little weed here and there and get into trouble with guns. Around the age of 13, his brother died in the streets. This was in 2008. Crakk and his older brother were truly close, and this had a devastating effect on Crakk. Losses like this is what turns some young boys out. It's what makes them disaffected with life and start to live outside of normal societal expectations.
My big brother died, that shit got rough for me. Even a fistful of pills wasn't enough for me.
Crakk said that after the loss of his brother, the guns came out and his whole life changed. Crakk knew a life of pain and heartache. He'd been shot on 3 different occasions, with the last time being the most damaging, where he was hit in his left cheek and shoulder. After being charged with an attempted robbery in New Jersey and then serving his time, Crakk was released in 2015. A few months later, he was recharged with that same crime as part of a superseding indictment, adding him to an already established indictment that had been going on for the 2 years he was locked up. The feds don't play fair, as many know.
U.S. Attorney in Philadelphia has announced indictments against 16 people in connection with a sophisticated crime operation that allegedly included robbery and torture. Live outside the federal building tonight is Action News reporter Sarah Bloomquist. Sarah?
Jim, federal prosecutors called them a violent gang of serial robbers who used torturous tactics in home invasions and robberies. They're accused of stealing jewelry, cars, cash, electronics, and drugs from their victims in a years-long crime spree that stretched from Philadelphia to the suburbs. On July 15, 2013, 2 men posing as police waved around semi-automatic guns inside Platinum Jewelers at 12th and Market. Federal prosecutors say one of these men was Khalil Smith, the other one of the many accomplices in a violent robbery ring operating from 2012 until last month all around the region.
The defendants were bold and resourceful in committing these crimes.
At the jewelry store, prosecutors say the other members of the ring posed as customers. Still more stood watch, monitoring police radios. They left with nothing once the real police were on the way. This 17-count indictment alleges in many other cases the 16 men in the group used violent tactics in home invasions, targeting victims they thought had drugs or money from drugs.
The torture included waterboarding, beating, threatened sexual assault, scalding with boiling water, and being shot.
Federal prosecutors say this house on Lee's Way in Hatfield was targeted by the ring in November 2013. They allegedly placed GPS devices on the victim's cars so they knew where he lived.
They forced the victim inside his home. They restrained him, threatened him, and assaulted him. Then the defendants stole electronics, guns, cash, and in this case, even the victim's BMW. 2 of the defendants are already accused of robbing and shooting a pharmacy delivery man in North Philadelphia in July 2014. 12 of the 16 defendants are in custody. The ATF needs the public's help finding Hassan Cheney and Brandon Seegers so they can join their friends now in federal custody.
Today, their criminal activity journey has hit a wall, the wall of justice.
Now, some of the 16 defendants were arrested today. Some were already behind bars, and the feds feel confident they're closing in on the rest in the group. They all have criminal histories and now face very, very long sentences, up to life in prison.
The federal laws on crimes can be so intentionally vague that getting caught up in this type of indictment is not that difficult if you're involved in the streets. Crakk was arrested in 2012 for a robbery in New Jersey, as I just mentioned. And by the time he got home, the feds had built a 21-man, 30-charge indictment against individuals the government say were involved in a robbery and home invasion ring. Since these alleged home invasions and robberies were sometimes committed across state lines, the Hobbs Act was introduced and the feds were able to try this case as a wide conspiracy amongst the men. This made 7 of the men fold, and the case was busted wide open by the people who ended up telling. For his part, like I said, Crakk was involved in one of the 12 robberies. On October 9th, 2012, Haynes and 2 other men drove to the Bishop's View Apartments in Cherry Hill, New Jersey with the intention of committing an armed robbery. A third man met them there and stayed in his vehicle as a lookout while the other 3, including Crakk, approached the home of their intended target, armed with a handgun. At approximately 8:50 in the morning, the victim woke up to a sound coming from his living room. Upon entering the living room, the witness noticed that a window near the front of his house was open and the blinds were moving. He returned to bed, but again heard a sound and returned to the front window, observing a male with his hand inside of the window screen. The witness saw 2 other men standing near the first man, one of whom had a firearm in his waistband. The witness shouted, "I see you." The 3 men then fled. The witness reported the incident to the police, providing descriptions of the men and the vehicle in which they fled. The police observed that the window screen had been cut and a lock on the window was pried open. Other police units stopped the vehicle described by the witness, as well as bring the witness to the scene of the stop for a, quote, show-up of the vehicle's occupants. The witness identified one of the men who had a gun in his waistband. All 3 men, including Crakk, were arrested and charged with robbery, burglary, and related offenses in New Jersey State Court. A search of the vehicle uncovered a loaded firearm, a GPS tracking device, and a police scanner, 3 pair of gloves, and 4 cell phones. Crakk, being only charged in one of the 12 robberies, stood tall. In the end, he was sentenced to 60 months and was released in 2019. His string of relative luck would run out in 2020. Crakk's time on the streets was a case of a cat with 9 lives. As I stated before, he was shot on 3 different occasions, survived all of them. In October of 2008, Crakk was arrested and charged with involuntary manslaughter. He was found not guilty on those charges in 2010, along with a string of other arrests throughout Crakk's life. By the time 2020 rolled around, he was considered a lucky man. On Monday, February 17, 2020, at 3:18 p.m., police from the 39th District responded to a radio call for a person with a gun at 3700 North Bouvier Street. Upon arrival at that location, they found the victim, later identified as Christian Eldridge, or OBH Boy Boy, as he was known on the streets. Boy Boy was just outside a blue Chrysler Town & Country, suffering from gunshot wounds to his chest and arm. Boy Boy was transported to Temple Hospital. At 4:00 p.m., Christian Eldridge, or Boy Boy, succumbed to his injuries. 4 9mm fire cartridge casings were recovered from the street near the Chrysler Town & Country. Through an immediate investigation, detectives identified 2 people, Aaron Page and Edwin Martinez. Through call detail records, video surveillance of the offender's vehicle, and precision location coordinates associated Edwin Martinez's Ford Fusion, which was rented from the Enterprise Rental Agency, authorities obtained arrest warrants for Martinez and Page for the murder of Christian Eldridge. 4 months after the murder of Eldridge, on June 18, 2020, at 6 o'clock in the morning, homicide detectives and the U.S. Marshals Task Force went to the 4300 block of Germantown Ave to serve the arrest warrant for Aaron Page and execute a search warrant. Page subsequently barricaded himself inside a small bedroom inside the apartment. During the standoff, Page took himself out with a Polymer 80 custom firearm underneath a Glock 19 receiver with an extended magazine. During the subsequent search of the apartment, Aaron Page's cell phone was located in the master bedroom. Detectives obtained a search warrant to conduct a search for further evidence stored electronically within the device to further establish the conspiracy between Page, Martinez, and any other unknown co-conspirators, as well as establish any motive for the murder of Christian Boy Eldridge. Full forensic examination was conducted and the contents of the phone were obtained for review by police. While reviewing the message content within the device, they discovered numerous messages contained within Page's phone related to various shootings and murder in the Philadelphia area and the motive for the murder of Christian Boy Eldridge on February 17, 2020. Specifically, Page conspired with the contact saved in his phone as CR. CR had numerous conversations between the dates of November 21st, 2019 and April 28, 2020. Related to ongoing motives and attempts to shoot people who associate with 18th Street in the Tioga Nicetown section of Philadelphia and other sections of the city. Specifically, detectives learned that text messages contained within the device clearly indicate Page was targeting Christian Eldridge as well as others from the area of 18th and Tioga. The motive for killing these individuals appears to be from financial profit, which would be paid to Page through CR. CR would be identified as James Haynes or Crakk from Venango Street. Crakk would collect this bounty from an individual who is yet to be named. Detectives reviewed the iMessage thread between Page and the contact CR, which indicates the following. The message record clearly indicates that on February 13, 2020 at 9:17 p.m., Page was in the area of 18th Street looking for individuals that were associated with 18th Street near Tioga. At 9:37 p.m. and 9:52 p.m., Crakk sent two photographs which were screenshots from two separate Instagram accounts. The first picture was a screenshot from an Instagram live feed from an account bearing the name YG. This still picture depicted a black female who was the account holder and the victim in the case, Christian Eldridge, in the background. The account holder and Eldridge are the only two people depicted in the picture. The second picture was a screenshot of Christian Eldridge's Instagram account, which was boy_18, which depicted both Christian Eldridge and another black male identified as Kareem Rowlick. In the comment sections, Eldridge provided his location as Tioga Garden Apartments, which police know to be the 1800 block of West Tioga Street. Page then responded, "I'm picking the little bitch up, right? We're around the corner from them." Further messages between CR and Page indicate Page had sent a female inside a location who confirmed both Christian Eldridge and Kareem Rowlick were inside the location. The contact name was MB2. They provided the clothing description of Page's targets. Page further instructed MB2 to pay attention and not let anyone in her phone. Detectives reviewed call detail records associated with Page's cell phone at or near the time of these messages. Based on tower location information, Page was in the Mantua section of West Philadelphia. MB2 further asked CR for a description of Boy's vehicle, which CR accurately describes. Possible blue minivan, it read. It appears between 10:24 p.m. on February 13th and 12:09 a.m. on February 14th. Page waited near Eldridge's minivan while the female contact, MB2, was inside spying on Page's targets. Page references the presence of law enforcement near where he is waiting and an unrelated shooting which occurred in close proximity to Page's location just a few minutes earlier. Crakk sends a screenshot of the shooting, which is reported by the Citizens app, which occurred in the area of Union and Wallace Streets at about 11:18. Page acknowledged that he's right around the corner from that shooting, which is consistent with Page's call detail records. Aaron Page subsequently informs Crakk that all four of their targets, including Eldridge or Boy, were present in the same location. Crakk becomes upset that nothing happened during that evening and stated, "Cuz, I'm sick about that. Yo bro, wallahi, next time they're in there, I'm coming down myself. I knew they was in there, cuz." Page responded that there was nothing he could have done. Crakk would further comment, "That was a dub right in your vicinity." Police believe, based on the context of these messages, that Crakk believed the total monetary value on Christian Eldridge and the three others he had a bounty out for, according to Crakk, would be $20,000. On February 15th, 2020, at 8:06 p.m., Crakk again talks to Page about shutting 18th Street down while stating, "I'ma keep it 100. I'm ready to see if folks give up 5 for y'all to shut them 18th Street niggas trap crib down. Bro, we gotta cut they paper short, walk on that porch and Draco that shit up." Detectives know the term Draco to mean a customized AK-47 with a pistol grip and a compact barrel. Page then responds, "I'm with it," and suggested they firebomb 18th Street. Crakk and Page continue to talk about locating associates of 18th Street leading up to February 17th when Eldridge or Boy Boy is murdered. Specifically, Page sent a message at 3:10 p.m. on that day in February of 2020 that stated, quote, "Boy Boy." Crakk immediately responded, 5. Crakk then sent an audio message telling Page that if he was in a black Nissan with New Jersey tags to get out of the car. Additional message between Crakk and Page clearly indicate Page was attempting to commit another shooting after the murder of Eldridge. Approximately 35 minutes after the murder of Boy Boy or Christian Eldridge, Page sent a text to Crakk which read, quote, "I need 7th Street, bro." Crakk responded, "No bullshit. They said they don't want to call." Detectives believe that this message indicates the lookout for a possible shooting did not want to call Crakk with information about an individual from 7th Street that Page was attempting to shoot. At 4 o'clock, Crakk sent, "Hold on, I'm ready to finesse some. He ready to call." At 5:45 p.m., Crakk stated, "He there," to which Page responded, "Alright, bet." Crakk would go on to provide a clothing description. Crakk took a screenshot of this message and forwarded it to Page. Crakk would subsequently send Page a location, which said, "On Venango, right side of the street between Marshall and 7th. Page responded that he was doubling back now. Page would further ask Crakk if he was cool, and Crakk assured him and provided a further clothing description of the target from 7th Street, which was a large green Woolwich-style jacket. Page subsequently sent Crakk a message at 7:13 p.m., which read, "Kevin Love, double-double, I love basketball." Crakk responded with smiley face emojis and subsequently stated, "Dog, you crafty as shit, yo." The two would continue to talk about getting other 18th Street associates after this alleged shooting. It's apparent that Crakk learns that this second shooting victim on February 17, 2020 survived and relayed this information to Page. Page appears to be upset and asks Crakk, "Bro, you gotta shoot for at least 85, that's a good number. It really would have been 12 if cuz fouled out, feel me?" Police believe that Page is requesting Crakk to collect $8,500 for the murder of Eldridge in this second shooting, which occurred approximately 4 hours later. To be clear, Crakk once again was collecting this bounty for another unknown individual to pay Page and Martinez. Detectives found a video message sent from Crakk on March 9th, 2020 to Page, which depicted a shooting which occurred at night at an intersection located near a corner store. The offender during this incident was wearing all black, who approached a male wearing bright sneakers and a large Parker-style fur-lined hooded coat similar to the target described by Crakk in the second shooting on February 17th. The timestamp on the video, which appears to be from the corner store's surveillance system, was 7:13 p.m. on February 17, 2020. Detectives then conducted record checks and discovered a non-fatal shooting which occurred at 621 West Venango Street on February 17, 2020. Detectives compared this location to the location depicted in the video that Crakk sent Page. Detectives learned that this was the same shooting in which East Division detectives were currently investigating. Cell tower data placed Page at the scene of that shooting as well. On March 21st, 2020, at approximately 4:45 p.m., 3 people were shot near 18th and Tioga, one of them being Boy Boy's 17-year-old cousin, who would die from his injuries. The other people who were shot would survive. Tylil Taylor, or Baby 9, was at the wrong place at the wrong time. At 6:41 p.m., Crakk sent Page a picture of a screenshot of the news story reporting the triple shooting from 18th and Tioga. Page's response, "How you feel about that?" Crakk responded, "It's a good John, not really the young boy, but it is what it is." Crakk will ultimately continue to talk about shooting the real intended target that day, who appears to be Crack's top target for Page to kill, and subsequently messaged Page, "Ain't nobody, yeah I mean, but I'ma still get 5 for you, just for GP." As previously referenced, a 9mm firearm was recovered from Page after he took his own life on June 18th, when he barricaded himself inside his apartment after the police arrived. This firearm was compared to the 9mm FCCs recovered from the crime scene located at 18th and Tioga. The firearm was positively identified as the same firearm utilized in the triple shooting on March 21st, resulting in the murder of Tylil Taylor. Page's 9mm semi-automatic handgun also matched a non-fatal shooting which occurred near 59th and Lindenberg in April of 2020, and a murder which occurred on Buist Ave in June of 2020, approximately 2 weeks before he took his own life. Police eventually connected Crakk to the contact CR in Page's phone. They also connected him to the Instagram account _Crakk_. Screenshots of all the victims were found on Crack's phone, as well as the iMessages between Crakk and Page. As for Edwin Martinez, who was with Aaron Page when Boy Boy was killed, his arrest came after the Ford Fusion used in the murder came back to him. Cell phone data and infotainment data from the rental car's internal hard drive placed the car at the scene of the crime in Boy Boy's murder. The car was rented in Martinez's name, and the cell data pinged off of towers near the murder. In November of 2020, Martinez was detained in Jackson Township, New Jersey, after police received information that he was potentially in the area and began surveillance at the Prospect Point Apartments on South New Prospect Road, police said in a news release. During surveillance, detectives located a vehicle known to be driven by Martinez in the building's parking lot and later saw him drive the car to a nearby Quick Check convenience store, according to the report. There, officers conducted a stop and took Martinez into custody. Philadelphia police detectives then searched Martinez's car and the apartment he had been staying at, Jackson police said, and seized 5 ounces of heroin, marijuana, and over 5 ounces of cocaine. He was charged in New Jersey, then extradited back to Philadelphia.
Man at the center of a murder-for-hire plot has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Investigators discovered that James Haynes hired 2 men, Aaron Page and Edwin Martinez, to kill 27-year-old Christian Eldridge back in 2020. The FBI, U.S. Marshals, and Philadelphia police all worked together during the investigation.
I cannot express enough the amount of work, the amount of perseverance, the amount of determination that went into this investigation, not only in its initial stages, but also following through to the jury trial.
Authorities believe that Page and Eldridge were involved in other murder-for-hire plots. Those are also under investigation.
I'm too valuable in these streets, that's why I hire niggas. Fuck a watch and a chain, every 20K I'm buying killers.
I'ma leave it there for now. Thanks for watching American Confidential, and until next time, be safe.
I said, my daughter asks, is it a chance you coming home? I smile to her. Cause that's better than saying yeah, knowing I'm probably lying to her.